I'm super excited about this next bit. I am here because I get to spend a lot of time out there on the National Hot Rod Association tour, watching guys burn nitro, but I have always had a passion for NASCAR, and how can you not? And so now we get a chance to connect with one of the greats of all time, certainly, Doug Yates from Roush Yates Racing Engines, and we are going to get to dive in. Doug, first of all, thank you so much for joining us here at the Engine Performance Expo.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for having me on today. This is awesome. I've been watching a little bit of the videos and the things you guys are doing, and this is fantastic. So thanks for having me on the Engine Expo today, and looking forward to catching up and hanging out with you for a little bit.
Well, you know, and what we're doing is we're learning so much, but every once in a while, like the people, the parts and the pieces are a big part of it, but the people are what really make it go, and that's where your experience is just tremendous. The arc of your career, the things you've seen, obviously your dad. I'm just super excited to speak with you today. So let's start off with, you know, coming up in a racing family. Like, you didn't have a choice.
Well, I didn't have a choice but to go to work, that's for sure, because, you know, my dad was the son of a Baptist preacher here in Charlotte. He loved hot rodding, working on engines, taking the engine out of his car and changing the cam and fixing it up. And that led to a career and start in NASCAR. It really started at Holman & Moody at 1970, a Ford factory-backed team here in Charlotte. They had about 300 employees to build all the engines and all the cars for Ford Motor Company. And that gave my dad an opportunity to learn about engines. He was pretty good with math and science, and so he started there and really started his engine building career and took it from there. When Ford kind of pulled out of racing for a little while, took a pause, he went to work for Junior Johnson just north of here, legendary Junior Johnson. So me and my mom and my sister, we moved to North Woodsboro, and that's kind of where I started getting some exposure to working at the shop with my dad, sweeping the floors, washing the parts, and that kind of carried on through my teenage years, and you know, just being around it. Like I said, my job was to make sure the shop was clean and take the engines apart and get them ready to be put back together. I had a chance to hone my first block when I was about 13 years old. That's, you know, I started when I was 10, racing go-karts along the ways, and had a lot of fun doing that. But one decided to follow my dad's footsteps as an engine builder, and I did that, and that was a lot of fun. But when I approached my college years, I decided, instead of just going to work with my dad, who had an engine shop at the time, that I wanted to go off and get a degree in mechanical engineering. So I went to North Carolina State, received a degree in mechanical engineering, and met a fantastic guy, a professor there, a guy named Joe David. And he was doing research work for General Motors at the time. We were racing Fords, but he taught me a lot about engines. And as soon as I graduated, my mom and dad actually bought a race team at that time, the Texaco Havoline Ford with Davey Allison. They bought that team, and when I graduated, my mom and dad asked if I would come back to work in the family business, and I did. And that time, NASCAR was really small. That was 1990. We owned a couple engines and a race car with a 28 car with Davey Allison, and I started to learn about engines and start racing and competing. But one of the best parts, and you touched on this, is that the people in the industry is what makes it so special. The guys like Ed Keebler at Rottler, the guys like Scooter Brothers at Comp Cams, Billy Galbert, all those people that are involved in the sport. It's really a community and a family, and that's what I like about today. And being part of this is when you go to trade shows or you go to seminars and you meet all the people, we're all doing the same thing. It's just at different levels and different opportunities. But if there's any way to give back and to keep and to talk to them and hang out with them like we're doing today, it's really fantastic. But just following my dad's footsteps, and that's what got me into racing and got me started while we're here today. So
there was no point that you threatened to rebel and go sell insurance or anything like that?
No, yeah, like I said, I raced go-karts for a while. You know, most people have a passion. I hear you are a drag racer, and so you understand that. And I raced local asphalt go-karts and loved it for about 3 years. But, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. We came up from a very modest beginning, and so putting tires on the go-kart was pretty tough. So I decided to make a living building race engines, and that worked out pretty well. But no, it's been racing. You know, I love racing. I love the competition. Love NASCAR. You know, it's been a great opportunity for the Yates family, my dad and myself, and my family, hopefully into the future. But No, it's been all racing all the time, and I've been blessed that way, and really fortunate.
So let's expand a little bit on the transition of technology, like what you just described with your career. I think we're seeing that it's necessary. Instead of just rolling up your sleeves and going to work on an engine and pulling some parts off and figuring it out, you went and got a degree. You became a mechanical engineer. We're seeing through these engines and machinery, like that's the way it has to be. There's technology is involved. You need to know how to use the technology if you're going to evolve the product that's under the hood of these race cars. That's what you've done. And now to be involved at the highest level, you have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first started, like I said, I graduated. We owned 3 engines. We owned 1 manifold, 1 distributor, and 1 carburetor. So that's where we started. But our engines were so good back then. My dad and his team, and we developed a cylinder head that ended up being it's a C3 Ford head, but people call it the Yates head. And basically what happened at that time, NASCAR engines were highly modified. And NASCAR said, wait a minute, there's too many different Ford heads. You guys pick one. And they picked my dad and our heads, and we gave that to all the Ford teams. Now, we didn't want to give it because we had about a 50 horsepower advantage at the time. Wow. But they said, all right, let's take your head, Robert. Let's work with you, and you guys will basically be the distributor. So at that time, it took about 3 months to make a set of cylinder heads, very highly modified. Take them off, weld them up, heat treat them, put the guys in where you want them, change the chamber, a spark plug position, everything, about 3 months. So we decided there's no way we can make all these cylinder heads for everybody. So my dad went out and bought his first CNC machine, a Moore Seiki MD40, and started doing the chambers and the port entrances. And that led to 5-axis machining. And today we can produce a set of cylinder heads after they're cubed, which we do here in-house. We take them from casting all the way up. We can have a set of heads in 6 hours. And so we have, true 5-axis machining, and continue to look ahead. But that process went from 3 months and today 6 hours, and technology has continued to change. When I started, we had 1 Superflow dyno, 1 dyno. I did all the testing, ran the race engines, and today we have dynamometers that will run a full race condition. They're AVL transient dynos. Probably one of the biggest innovations was how we test engines. We can simulate every single thing that goes on in the cars. Now that we have the data from the track through the EFI system, we can bring all that information here, load it up on the dynamometer, run an engine just like it's in a car at a race, pick a driver, pick a track, and we can go recreate that and make sure that we don't have any issues. We build a fresh engine, we run a race, we take it apart, and dissect all the parts and go back through them and make sure everything's perfect. So a lot of technology on the testing side, a lot of innovation on the manufacturing side. But I'll tell you what, Rottler has done an amazing job. They have truly automated equipment. Like I said, I honed my first block when I was 13 years old. Probably wasn't very good. Probably not sure if it sealed up. We didn't test that well. But today, the 875A hones, we have 2 of them, and they're basically like CNC hones. It's taken a lot of the black art and magic out of it, and really he's done a good job. And Rottler has done a great job with technology. And I'll give you a little story. My dad, after he retired from NASCAR, he retired in 2007 from being a car owner. He started doing all the K&N engines that are raced all across the series. So every NASCAR K&N engine came from my dad. It's a Chevrolet engine. He loved to hone the blocks himself. And so to take a new block from Dart and to hone it to get the surface finished exactly like you want it was about a 6-hour job. We received the 875As with the automated rollover, automated hole-to-hole, and really high-tech. So it's basically just program it, touch and go, and it was so fast. And I told him, I kept saying, Dad, look, you should try this. You should really give Rottler a chance and see what you think. So after many months of conversation, one afternoon he called me up and he said, I'm ready. I said, okay. I said, bring the block over. So we put it in the Rottler. We programmed it. Carson Dunn and all the guys here, and Dave Bullock, who's going to be on your segment later today, I believe, got it all set up for him, hit the button, and in 45 minutes, the block was completely finished. No touch. And he had been struggling to get the surface finished just perfect on the prior home that he was using, and he was a perfectionist. But the technology of the equipment is really come so far from back in the day when I started in a small shop, and it's exciting to see what's going on and what's out there. And, technology and change is tough. It's how do you learn about it? I think you learn about it by being on the Engine Expo that we're doing today, right? You watch these videos and demonstrations. The guy was talking about decking the heads earlier. The equipment is advanced, but also Rattler has a great tech helpline, and they'll help you out. They'll get you up to speed. They'll get you going. Ed and his team, they're vested in this process, and I'm a believer. I mean, I'm telling you, you have to have great people. You have to have great processes, but you have to have great equipment to do a good job and to compete at a high level, and Rattler's done just that.
Well, isn't that it's just a challenge of life? Like, you get into a groove, you're doing it, you're feeling comfortable with it, and it's working for you, so why change? It takes something to shake you out of it, or, we know in drag racing you maybe stay with a tune-up a little bit too long, and you have to evolve, and you brought him in. I want to know what his reaction was when that thing was done in 45 minutes.
Oh, he was so happy. he was really working hard at it, and struggling. But you have to keep looking ahead. And one thing that we've always said, and this is something my dad instilled in me, and it's true: you win with advantages. You win with advantages on building engines. It's equipment. It's people. It's at the track. It's drivers, pit crews, setups. You always are looking for that next advantage. And what we have done as a company at Roush Yates is, we invested in that CNC equipment for doing the cylinder heads that we talked about, and then we started building our own valve train components. So we make our own rocker arms and all the valve train bits, all the front covers, and all of the components on the engines. But as engines have increased in life, so we used to rebuild these engines after every single race, and now we run them 3 races. So what do we do with that extra equipment, those extra resources we have? As a company, what we did is we decided to take that into defense and aerospace and other industries. It's the same core skill sets and same things apply, but we can apply that to other industries. And at Roush Yates Manufacturing Solutions today, we have over 60 CNC machines, and a lot of them are automated, run lights out 24/7, that makes components for defense and aerospace. And it's really all built off our history in racing and the things we've done here and what we've learned. But you have to continue to adapt and grow and change. And COVID has changed all of that, right? I mean, we're here talking, showing videos. We would be at a trade show or where you guys are at, but we can't just do that today. But I think technology is good if you embrace it. Of course, we'd rather be there and hanging out with our friends and people we've met through the years. But I think technology is really good. And if you embrace it, and keep looking ahead and align with great partners and great companies like Rattler, I think you're going to have a lot of success in this business.
Embrace technology. I love the message, and we'll all be back together again soon. We don't know exactly how long, but it's going to be a fun time, I can tell you that. One thing that I've noticed in the arc over the years, back in the day, if engines would blow. And it was part of racing, right? Like, oh, this guy, they're all out of the race because the engines blew up. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. I want to know your thoughts. Is it simply the technology that goes into it? Is it the consequences? Like, races are so important now that it's just unacceptable to lose an engine. It's almost not part of racing. You don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I mean, back in the day, like I said, when I graduated from college, we had about 6 people in the engine shop, and we would work with Scooter and Billy at Comp Cams, and they would send us a cam. If it made more power, we'd put it in the engine, go to the track, and we may have a failure. We didn't fully test it. Today, we have a R&D team of 40 engineers that just work on continually developing these engines, no different from our competitors, but we have so many talented people, but also we have everything that we need here to test those configurations. We have the Spintrons that came through many years ago. A valve train test rig was unheard of. Our first valve train test rig was a cam braking machine. We had a Pinto engine on the front with a drive shaft, and put the cam in, break the cam in because it was a flat tappet cam at the time, and then we would run it up in the RPM and listen for valve flow. That's how we knew if the valve train was unstable. If you could hear it audibly go out of control, you knew that you had a problem. So today we have, lasers that tell you the exact valve motion for every single cylinder in the engine. We take dynamic valve measurements on a firing engine in that AVL test cell. So I think the resources, the knowledge base, everybody in the industry has obviously gotten smarter over the years. And yes, engine failure used to be part of the race. I mean, some races you would only have 10 cars finished or a couple cars on the lead lap. And today, knock on wood, as an engine builder, you don't like to talk about that very much, but most of these things have been tested, and the suppliers have gotten better, and the technology has gotten better. But it was an element back in the day, and today it's not. And it's what we do today is we really push the limits of the engine more than anybody would ever imagine. The operating temperatures of these engines today, with a pressurized cooling system, we run up to 300-degree water temperature continuous in a race, and oil temperature, oil in at 320 degrees, and very thin oils as well. So there's a lot of technology and coatings and the other things that we develop to get advantages. So the reason why we run them hot, if you're wondering out there, is so you can put more tape on the front of the cars, and there's an aerodynamic benefit of increased downforce and reduced drag, and there's a lot of lap time in being able to run the engines hotter. So that's something that we've been working on. Of course, the engine, it used to be just make the most power you can. When I graduated college, these engines made about 650 horsepower. Very quickly, they went to 700 horsepower. And before NASCAR decided to slow them down and put taper spacers on them, unrestricted, naturally aspirated, we could make about 925 horsepower. But everybody kind of caught up to that. So where we're racing today is how hot can you run the engine, how good a fuel economy do you have, and strategy things. We work with our teams, how light the engine is, what the center of gravity. So we do a lot of design, a lot of different materials that we didn't do before or use before. So those days of just racing a dyno, which I love that time. I love just making more power and just racing, making the engine better. We really work harder today to make sure that we give the teams what they need to get the car around the track faster, which is, at the end of the day, is something we're proud of. And last year we had a great year. Our main partner is Ford Performance, Edsel Ford, and Ford Motor Company. And we love working with those guys. But between Stuart Haas, Team Penske, Roush Fenway Racing, Front Row Motorsports, we won 18 Cup races last year and 15 Xfinity races and the Xfinity Championship with Austin Cindric. And every year's a new year, and we haven't started racing yet, so we can still celebrate last year. But we had a great year, and it's due to a lot of great people and great partners like Rottler.
Well, you guys did a great job on the NASCAR side of the world, just getting to the races. Like, everybody's life was disrupted, and as much as people were home, you guys were, the whole program changed, and yet you guys adapted, and you were able to go out there and do a great job. How did that change the engine shop?
Yeah, it was a very trying moment for the world, right? I mean, everybody encountered it in a different way, but kind of leading our company and thinking about all 175 employees and their families, and can we work? Is it safe to work? All those things that you kind of went through that process. On the front end of it, that was changing hour by hour and then week by week. And we were getting ready to go to Atlanta to race, and they called and said, "Hey, we can't put the race on. It's too we're too rampant right now." So they shut down in Atlanta and didn't restart for 9 more weeks. So what we did is use it as an opportunity to try to create better engines. And we went to work on development and worked on our manufacturing capabilities, and really just use that time to try to get better and be proactive about it. And when we restarted at Darlington in May, we were fortunate to win that race with Kevin Harvick, Kevin's 50th Cup win, which is something I'm really proud of. And then went on to have a great season afterwards. But it was a trying moment. It's something that nobody planned for. It's a 100-year event, today. And it's been a trying year, but with a great team and here at Roush Yates and the support of Ford Motor Company, we got through it, and we're looking forward to getting started racing again here in about a month or so.
Very exciting, looking forward to it. But we cannot let you out of here without hearing a young Doug running around in the 1980s NASCAR story. I know you have many, many, many. So just go to the well. Maybe Earnhardt's involved, maybe your dad, something like. I'm sure you have a couple of real go-to ones. Entertain us, Doug.
Well, one of my lots of great moments growing up with my dad, watching his success with Bobby Allison. Bobby and my dad won the championship with Dygard in 1983. That was a very special moment for him and our family. But one of the things I'm really proud of is, and I want to let everybody know, this is something really, really cool, is that my dad built Richard Petty's 200th win engine. Richard won his 200th race at Daytona, 4th of July, 1984. The President, Ronald Reagan, flew in on Air Force One, and Richard won that race. And what was cool about that is, like I said, we came from really modest, humble beginnings. The car owner of that car, after the race, my dad, there's a really cool picture of my dad, Bobby Allison, Richard Petty, Ronald Reagan, having a lunch, and they had Kentucky Fried Chicken and all that stuff, and did that. But after the race, we were like normal. We were getting ready to drive home, and the guy who owned the car, he said, "Hey, I'm going to give you the keys to my suite here at the nicest hotel in town." So we felt like we were pretty big stuff when we got to stay in that suite and celebrate that win. And years later, when my dad was inducted he finally made it into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. He was struggling with liver cancer at the time, and he found out he was in, and it was such a special moment. Richard Petty was there, and everybody knows Richard with a big cowboy hat. So Richard took his hat off, put it on my dad, and my dad got some pictures of Richard Petty and hanging out. And so that was kind of a crowning achievement to a guy who was grew up, chased his passion, like I said, son of a Baptist preacher, worked hard, and he said hard work and just good work ethic. He never wanted to be a car owner. He just wanted to do a great job. And I think for everybody's out there listening that's at a machine shop right now or has big ambitions to do something, chase your dreams, work hard, be great at something, and just focus on, be really, really good, be the best at what you do, and you'll go a long ways. And this is a great industry. I'm really proud to be part of the performance racing industry, and proud to be here with you today, Joe, and proud to be partners with Rottler, and just chase your dreams. And I'm just a kid who grew up next to his dad, and the NASCAR took off, and here we are today, and we're trying to carry it on for future generations. But it's all about racing. We love racing. We love working on engines. And thank you guys for having me on today.
Doug, thank you. And thank you for all you've done. This industry has grown so much. So many of us are making livings in the industry, whether someone like me just talking into a microphone, building engines, or otherwise. We thank you for what you've done. And we wish you good luck in the 2021 season. Like you said, it's not far off. It comes very quickly.
Yes, sir. Well, a Happy New Year to everybody. And, Joe, thank you. And hopefully I'll see you around soon.
Absolutely. Doug Yates for Performance Roush Yates Racing Engines. Thank you for joining us on the Engine Performance Expo. Wow, how great was that? All you folks who have signed on, logged on from around the world, you're definitely getting some great programming, and we're just really getting started. This is day one. We're going to have Warren Johnson, the professor of Pro Stock. He's got a new book coming out soon. We're going to grill him about a whole bunch of different things. Ed Pink, John Kazi in the next couple of days. It is going to be great. And why is this happening? Because of some great sponsors like Rottler Manufacturing. We're learning a lot about it, but like the insight to put this all on and give us the opportunity, we thank them. And Dart, we've learned so much about the Dart blocks. And Motor State coming on board. Blueprint Engines, they got dyno-proven high-performance crate engines that are doing very well. Of course, the folks at Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, they have recently created a podcast called Hidden Horsepower, which you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and here these engine builders go very, very deeply into how they got there, what they do, and what they think you should do to raise your game. Diamond Racing Pistons doing a great job. Of course, Edelbrock, an industry leader on all fronts. Thank you, Edelbrock. A CVT and the folks at Silver Seal, we appreciate you. Ultrasonic LLC, thank you very much, Ultrasonic, for coming on board. AXE and Straub Technology. This didn't happen by accident. It's because these people came together. They know that we want to get the information out there to the world. We want you to share it, exchange it, talk about it, and grow together. And so thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate it. And when you need something, you'll remember their names. So thank you very much, sponsors of the Engine Performance Expo. What a day, what a day, what a day. Yeah, my brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.